Hey guys, in this video you're going to be checking out the Eachine DTX03, and this is a power switchable micro video transmitter and DVR all-in-one. It's the next generation of the DVR03 that came out a couple months ago that had the camera built in and it suffered from the so-called latency issue or dropped frames issue, and I'm going to compare this one to the other one. This new one here, the DTX03, lets you connect it to any camera. It's a little bit confusing on the connections, however, and unlike the VTX03 where it had this separate connection here, which looks like it goes to a camera, which is video, ground, and power, that's not the case. I actually cut off this connector here. I'm going to wire this up differently. The power in connector is the same. It's the same 3.3 to 5 volt input. So it's pretty good for your micros, but the three wires here are different. So the yellow is still video in from the camera and black is still ground, but the red wire is not power to the camera, it is video out. So if you want to be able to look at the menus of the DVR, you need to connect the video out, this red and the ground, to a video source or a monitor to be able to see the DVR functions. Now you could see those in the previous version, the DVR03. It's not available to you in this version unless you connect up a separate monitor, and this does not power a camera. So when you wire this up, you want to provide power to your camera from like a PDB or some other power source. You could also splice in your power from this connector here to the camera, and that's actually what I did for my build, and I'll show you that in a second. But first I'm going to go show you the old version of the DVR03, and I'll show you what the latency looks like, and then I'll show you what this new version looks like with the, basically that problem has been eliminated. Okay, so just for demonstration purposes, I got the DVR03. This is the one with the camera, not the DTX03, which has no camera. So this one, when you plug it in, it starts recording. You can see here the little timer's going and the little red light's flashing. And I'm going to put my finger in front of this little jumper X68, and as I move it away, you can see there's a little bit of a lag there, but it's more of a frames being dropped. So it looks like it's very jaggedy, and this made it really hard to fly. Because basically you're looking at the DVR interface, not the actual live video feed. So there's this delay in the video coming to your monitor or your goggles. You can see here as I'm moving around that there is a sort of a jittery effect in the video, which makes it pretty much impossible to fly, which is why people did not like this. So here I got another DTX03 here, and I just have it wrapped in some heat shrink. I have it connected to just a micro camera in the front here, just for testing purposes, and this is being powered by that connector, this one right here, and I have the camera spliced into this connector for the 5 volts, and then the video coming from the camera into the yellow video in wire for the DTX03, and it's just plugged into the Pico BLX here. There's a little pigtail here to get 5 volts. So ideally you would want a something that would match this in terms of voltage range. Otherwise you'd have to get a separate PDB and a separate regulator. So I'm running the DTX03 and the camera off of the BEC from the Pico BLX at 5 volts. So any camera that matches this voltage range, ideally 5 volts would be best, would work fine with this if you plug it into the same 5 volt source. However, keep in mind that the power draw is going to be pretty significant, and let me show you that in the documentation. So right here, the current consumption is 970 milliamps at 200 milliwatts. So your BEC needs to be more than 1 amp, and I think on the Pico BLX that's either 2 or 3 amps, so I'm fine in terms of the power draw, which is basically my camera, the DTX03, and the receiver. At 25 milliwatts is still 630 milliamps, so it's quite a bit of current draw. And if you're using a flight controller or a microflight controller only has a 1 amp BEC, then you're going to probably brown out your receiver and cause a failsafe. So keep that in mind on what kind of craft you put this on. that you are not overtaxing the 5-volt regulator on the board. Okay, so a little closer look at the way I have this set up on top of my Tomoquad's XPL117. Basically I got the card on the side here, and to start and stop your recordings you just press this top button here that's next to the microphone. If you don't have this connected to an external video source, the other two buttons aren't going to be very useful for you because you're not going to be able to do, these are for playback, and obviously you're not going to do any playback. So to start recording, you hit the top button, and then this red light will start flashing. It will indicate that it's recording. And then to stop the recording, you then hit the button again to show you that it is now no longer recording. There is a button here on the top right there that will change your bands and channel and power. It's the same as on the VTX03. So if you need to understand how that works, then just click the card up here to that video, and I'll show you how to do that from over there in that video. So I'm going to show you what the latency is like now with this setup here. Okay, so you can see now, as I'm moving my hand in front of the picture here, that there's no lag or jagginess in the video whatsoever. It's very, very, very clear, and I had absolutely no trouble flying this. I've already flown this, no issues at all in terms of lag or any kind of video issues or anything of that sort. It's all gone. It works perfectly fine now. And just one thing that you notice, it is kind of heavy. I think it weighs about 9 grams, and on this quad, which weighed 55 grams before, it's a pretty significant bump up in weight, so I did feel it when I was flying it. I am using some pretty weak motors. These are 1103 8000 kV motors. I think if you have a more beefier setup on a micro, say like 1104 7500 kV or 1105 say 6000 kV, I don't think you'll have those issues because it's just a little lack of power for this extra little bit of weight, because you're carrying around probably an extra 6-7 grams versus the VTX03. And I'm sure people are going to ask me how much it actually weighs, so I'm going to actually put it up here on screen. So actually, I was one wrong. It's not 9 grams, it's about 6.5 grams, and that's actually, I think, what was in the documentation. So sorry about that, my memory is pretty bad. Probably not. I was probably accounting for the weight of the camera as well in that figure. So if you throw in that camera weight, probably 4 grams, it's closer to what I was thinking. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and roll some video footage of this, and it's actually quite impressive. It's kind of, basically you get the same DVR footage you get in your, say, Fatshark goggles, but there's no video breakup whatsoever. So you get the actual video feed recorded directly to your microSD card.